Hey, welcome back to the Broker's Voice. I am excited today because I'm going outside the insurance industry. Normally, I have advisors, industry partners on the show to talk about a product, a strategy, or just to get to know them. But today we're going outside the industry with a close friend of mine. I am joined by no other than Jim Carter. Jim, welcome to the Broker's Voice.
Thanks for having me, brother. Glad to be here, Andy.
People might be wondering, okay, Andy, why do you got your buddy on the call today or on the show? So the reason I wanted to have you on, Jim, is, you and I have been doing accountability calls for what, 3 years now, 2 years?
3.5.
We haven't been, I know we don't connect every week, but man, we have
Oh,
been
we
consistent for two
we
and a half
try
years.
really hard too. Though, yeah, that's the commitment
And
every
I have
every week.
seen your evolution of your business evolve over the last couple of years. And today you're the co-founder of Carter and Custer. You also run the Fast Foundations Mastermind, which you and I originally met in. You and RT Custer bought that out from mentors of ours, Chris and Lori, and so you guys run the Fast Foundations Mastermind to help entrepreneurs grow their business. But today we're going to talk about one of your areas of expertise, and I use the word expertise in an interesting way because this concept is so new for everybody, and that is artificial intelligence.
That's it. It's an evolving expertise. We're
It,
all rapidly figuring it out.
It's kind of like when the Affordable Care Act rolled out in our industry in 2010, and you had people calling themselves experts within like months. It's like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, we're all figuring this thing
Did
out
they
right
even
now.
publish the whole thing yet? Yeah, I know. Right. I feel
um,
like that's where we are with this.
but I'm going to
Exactly.
call you an expert because you know a hell of a lot more about it than almost everybody in our industry. And
I'll take it. That's why I'm here.
I wanted to have you on because artificial intelligence is here. It is here to stay, and it's impacting every industry, including insurance. And it's
That's it.
only going to get more impactful. But let's start today's episode with kind of the basics for the folks, the advisors listening in who really haven't taken a lot of time to study or learn about this. What is artificial intelligence?
It's really what you want it to be. And I think that's why it's so hard for us to comprehend it, because it's different than Google, and it's something that continually evolves. So it's a wealth of knowledge in a form and a way that we can make sense of the data, we can feed it new data, and we can almost get the data out in an unlimited amount of ways. And that's why the concept is really hard to grab, but we don't have to overthink it. So when I'm asked this question, how do you explain artificial intelligence? Simply, non-technically, like I'm five, like put in whatever that is. It's a way of working with a piece of technology to receive or to interpolate or to get some form of your data or information out in a new and creative way, but at an exponentially evolving rate. So it could be as simple as asking a question and getting an answer, but it not being in a list like a Google search. It could also say, really simply, taking some audio file and translating it over to a different language, but doing it by way of of artificial intelligently processing it, if you will. It can also be putting a ton of data into an open-ended database, and these are considered LLMs, large language models. You may have heard that term kind of starting to float around a little bit, and asking it to repeat back information to you in different forms. Again, very different than how we traditionally now know to go to Google, search for something, get a list of 10 things and be riddled by ads, and while you're at it, book this flight and then see this thing, and then we get lost, right? This is it's a different way of working with the information that we either already have, our own information that we're going to feed into it, or an amalgamation of other different types of information. So that's why I'm here, is to try to break this down with you, and we can really explore it, and then we can niche in and we can really talk about what it is that your audience wants to learn about it, to find opportunities.
Absolutely, because I think the insurance industry tends to have this opinion that we're sheltered from a lot of the impacts things are having on society. I know back in 2008, I think we felt we were a little recession proof. And because everybody has to have insurance, right? Especially health insurance. And I think we're even seeing that impact us now, this current recession. I think is really starting to hit everybody, even the insurance industry, and AI is going to be no different, right? It's we being the insurance industry are not sheltered. from the impacts artificial intelligence are going to have on business?
Absolutely. And the most important thing there is that because it's evolving, there is no one, okay, I fit into this model, therefore I either am affected or I'm unaffected. I mean, some of the biggest impacted jobs that are being prophesized and thought about and predicted are high wage earners, writing, programming, people who process different information, jobs that require college degrees or higher, or even just routine and repetitive work. So if you feel like you could fit into one of those buckets, and that's a lot of buckets, and they're also very open-ended by design, it's because we're all finding ways that it either can add value or it can detract value. And
Mhm.
my goal and what I'm really trying to do here is to find ways where we don't have to fear this. We actually can embrace it and we can work with it to give us the competitive and the unfair advantage. Because if we lean into it sooner than stray away from it, it can give us untold benefits to what we're currently doing or maybe what we're going to be doing next.
Well, and the way you described it as an amalgamation of thoughts or input, I thought was so well said. Because if you think about Google, right, you type in a search or you type in a phrase, it kind of spits back based on the whatever you typed in. But I've used ChatGPT for certain things, and it's almost like you type in something, but then it has a brain of its own. And, I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about there's a difference. You will get a different answer with artificial intelligence if you type in, give me a recipe for, this dish versus give me a recipe for this dish as if I am a chef. It's almost like it creates a completely different mindset based on the input, which I find fascinating. And I think one of the biggest benefits, to the point you were making about the exponential effect, is time. The most valuable resource we all have is time. And when we don't have a lot of it, we've got to leverage tools to maximize our time. And I think AI can help us do this. Now, before we get there, I'd love your thoughts on this because a lot of people have the opinion. The benefit is time. That's one benefit, but a lot of people think AI has this negative connotation, this scary thought, as if AI is going to take over the world. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, anything's possible, but I think we are not close to that from waking up tomorrow and realizing the robots have taken over. It's going to take a little bit more work before it gets there. And honestly, timeliness of all of this. So right now it's early May when we're recording this. Just last week, celebrity Ashton Kutcher just announced and started to go public that he personally started to put together a fund of almost $250 million to help further not just the research but also the the oversight of this and making sure that we're doing this in a sustainable way that actually can add more value than detract. For example, about a month ago, there was a massive open letter that was published, and thousands of CEOs started signing it, basically saying, "We don't want you to pause AI, or we don't want you to stop AI development. Excuse me. We want you to pause it. We want to do this right." And now, we're kind of moving all around because this is all going so fast. Even last week, who's the guy who's considered the grandfather of artificial intelligence, who used to be working at Google, recently just resigned because he's afraid that it could get unwieldy if we don't pay attention to it. He was willing to take that big of a stance. And this is all new. This is all breaking. This is all changing. So do I want you to quit everything and become a survivalist and just go into the woods and like crawl into a hole? Well, not unless you honestly want to, and it should have nothing to do with AI. But what I want people to do is I want them to be open to saying, okay, this is powerful. This is likely the single biggest gift to humanity in the form of technology since the personal computer. So are we paying attention to it yet? Or are we acting like it's fear mongering and it's going to destroy us all? Like, let's be adults and let's really think about how can we just find ways to use this into our life and roll with it. And that's where I think the mindset shift has to occur. Because as long as we're straying away from it, we are letting everybody else outpace us who is willing to jump in on it.
Yeah, no, I a phrase I often hear from Gary Vee popped in my head when you said that. Whenever a new technology comes out, those that come in early usually have the largest land grab, right? And I think we're at that phase with AI as well. As the companies, the advisors in our industry that leverage it the best are going to have the biggest land grab early on. And I think there's, to your point, there's a very positive opportunity here if we use it the right way. So let's dive into that. Here's what I want to do with today's discussion. You don't come from the insurance industry, right?
Nope.
But you can
I
definitely teach us
I
how it.
I often have you explain back to me exactly what it is
Yes.
that you do even after these 3
we
years.
we did it prior to the show,
We
right?
did. I was like, "Can you just re-explain again exactly?" Yeah, that's
What's
my
so
level of
funny too
comprehension
is
here.
when what's so funny about that, Jim, is when people hear the word insurance, because I get this all the time from outside people, outside contractors that work with us, they immediately think life insurance. When the
Interesting.
reality is there's so many other types of insurance, right? But what we're
I
gonna
guess
do to
that kind of does come top of mind now that you think of it
yep,
first, but
exact.
yeah,
But it's probably because it's one of the things everybody has to buy or should buy, regardless of what industry you're in,
right.
right? But what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about some concepts in our industry where I see AI being very applicable. And I would love your thoughts and how we can apply AI positively, effectively to impact that area of business. And I'm going to start with what I know best: content. I think you and I can both agree that you want to grow your business today, you got to grab attention. And one of the best ways to grab attention is through content, social media content, email content, article content, you name it. And one of the biggest objections or hesitations we often get from clients or advisors we talk to is, Andy, I don't know what to talk about. I don't have time to create content. Talk to us about how AI has kind of eliminated that excuse.
It's so it's so funny, the reason I laugh, because I fell a victim to that for years too, which is for those of us that are not creatives that love the idea of painting from a blank canvas, when it comes to creating, usually that's the kind of stuff that stop us in our tracks and it makes us so that we don't want to act. We don't want to do anything. We're like, I have to start from scratch with this. So I'm just going to go do this other thing, whether or not it's the most important thing. But we tend to not get our work out there because we feel like it's just too much and we don't have an expertise in it, or we don't have a coach in it, or we don't have an advisor, or we don't have team for it. So it feels overwhelming. The fascinating thing about what AI is doing for us is it's demystifying and it's kind of rebasing all of those thoughts to the point now where you can have a quick coach for pointing you in the right direction. You can have an expert in a certain field guide you or list out bullet points or give you ideas. And even if they're not great, you have the ability to train it with something getting it closer and closer and closer to what your output is. And this process would take minutes, not hours or days. So that's why it's laughably like arguably laughable, right? Because we never really had this ability before. If we did, it required a developer and investment and things like that. The concept of these large language models, what AI is, it's not new. This has been around for a long time. But now, with what OpenAI did by giving us ChatGPT and dropping it, and now Bing got into the game, and now Google got into the game, and everybody's starting to release their AI plays, it's more accessible than ever, which bears that question. Well, why aren't you experimenting? Why aren't you using it? So that's the context we have to use this mindset around. And the way to do it is what's considered prompt engineering. And those are two words. They don't have to be overly technical. A prompt is a question, right? Andy, you just asked me a question. You asked me a prompt. You're like, I want you to demystify this. Let's talk about it. The engineering piece, that does not mean that you have to have a CS degree. It doesn't mean that you have to hire a programmer. What you're doing is you're engineering, getting it out of your head, and you're putting it into a prompt in the form that we can make sense of it. And the simplest way that I like to explain what prompt engineering is, and the way to think about this is if you open ChatGPT or you open Bing, which if you download the Bing app, they went from waitlist to now open preview. Every single person with a Microsoft account that downloads the Bing app has access to their version of, let's just say, ChatGPT, of what this type of thing is. So if you don't know where to start, you don't even trust OpenAI yet, if you trust Microsoft a little bit more, download it, try it, just start having a conversation with it. But a prompt engineering sort of way of thinking about this is as an actor, and the actor is what you fill in the blank, as an expert, as a copywriter, as a broker, as an insurance agent, whatever it is. So as an actor, I want you to perform a fill in the detailed task. What's the output? What are you trying to do? and then fill in the with the outcome of and put in your results. So, for example, the I think the simplest way that we've come to think about these is like, what's something that nobody wants to do that they know they have to do? Should write a blog, right? So, as a professional copywriter, write an outline for a detailed article of no less than 1900 words that explains the importance of life insurance for those that I would sell to if I was a broker. Do this in a form that a curious reader would care about in order to learn about the importance of buying life insurance. It's very different than going in and saying, write me a blog post about life insurance. Why? Because, Andy, if I was to ask you to write a blog post and I just said, hey, write me a blog post about life insurance, you'd be like, oh, well, okay, sure. Yeah, I guess I could figure that out. You're not motivated. You're not thinking openly. You're not empowered to go out and try to find more information. But the difference in that parallel is night and day, because now I'm asking you to be in that mindset of exactly what it is. I'm asking exactly what I need, which is do not give me anything less than 1900 words. And I want me, the reader, to be reading it in a curious form in order to be more interested in what you do. So small little tweaks like that go a long way. And this is where you can start to expand on that, change it up, say, I no longer want it to be neutral voice. I want it to be empowering voice. I want it to be in first person. I want it to be in third person. I want it to be aspirational, or throw a dad joke in there, or change up the vibe, have fun with it. And you can't do this with Google. That's the most important way to think about why this is so different. When you have this tool, which currently, by the way, is free,
FREE, free.
free dollars, right? when you have this ability and you go and you start to explore this and try it, you'll be surprised on the kind of outcome you get. And I am never in any way condoning take this output, copy and paste it, and publish it. This isn't about finding information and then just shortcutting. But if this can navigate you the right way and get you half the way there, 70% of the way there, in some cases 95% of the way there, add your own creative expertise onto it, wrap it up, and don't let anything hold you back from now just focusing on the things that you need to do.
Talk about that for a second, about adding your own little human twist to it, because I think that's important. And you even, like, I had never even thought about this, because we use it with our clients, right, to help them write articles or blogs or just come up with an idea. But even what you just said there, Jim, you think about Google as kind of an input output thing, but this whole prompt, that question you ask, and how much you can clearly provide a prompt that almost creates the mindset of what's about to be written. It's kind of what we teach with our clients about prospects. The more clear you are psychographically about who you're going after, the better it's going to be. It's almost like you're, in a way, creating the psychographic of how you want that article or that blog or that email to be written. That absolutely fascinates me. But talk about why you just can't take what is written by OpenAI or by artificial intelligence and copy and paste. You have to add the human touch to that. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, the obvious reason is that stealing, right? It'd be no different than if you went to Google and you said, teach me about life insurance, and you went to the first result and you copy and pasted and you published. There's no difference. Where do you think AI gets the information is the question for everybody here. Well, it gets it from the same known addressable internet that Google scrapes, that Bing scrapes, that everybody else has. The difference is here, it's able to take this information, we use that word amalgamation before, putting it all together, giving you a better output than its inputs. And you can change it up and move it around, but it's all pattern based, right? Any software runs functions. Functions take inputs and give you outputs. So it's taking all the inputs, it's giving you an output, but it's doing it at this rapidly evolving rate where it's getting better and better, and it's letting you flex in the different styles that you get. So it's the same reason that I won't go and take a picture of a piece of art and then say that I took this picture. Yeah, sure, I took the picture of somebody else's work. I'm not going to take credit for it. But again, if it can get you closer, if it can get you out of your way so you can just keep hitting go, then great. And the the really the I think the most important thing here is this can be a big ethical conversation, and it is evolving, right? When it comes to copywriting and who owns what and everything. But if you are already doing this work, or you have somebody on your team that's already doing this work, you want to repurpose and put all this stuff together. Your work is a derivative of other people's inspiration and outputs. AI is not yet in a generally available form a replacement for the creativity of the human mind, right? The way that you structure words, the way you put things together, Andy, that's your genius. That's the way that you put it out there, and your methods, anything that you have patentable, copyrightable, workflowed, all of these things. That's what makes you you. We're told by all of the titans in the industry, you give away everything that you've got for free. People want to hire you when they trust you and when they need what you have to be able to help them with a directional form that can get you there faster. So if this is just a derivative of the same kind of work you're doing before, let it help you get there quick while you then put your creative expertise on top of it. And that's why I don't condone write me a blog post and then copy and paste it.
Yeah.
Google will crush you for that. If they don't do it quickly, they will do it over time. Now, Google has officially put out their stance that says as long as you're putting out good quality content and it's not plagiarized and it's not spammy, they kind of don't care. And that's huge for the industry, which means stop getting in your way. Like, just get your content out there. But here's the way of thinking about this that I think will really change minds. You can ask it to write that blog post, and that's great. But it has to learn everything about the way that you like your styles and the way that you want your output. Andy, I can take one of your favorite recordings of your podcast, of your show, whatever it is, and you can transcribe it all through AI, super cheap, even cheaper than before. It's one way to use AI. You can take that transcription and you can teach AI the brand voice, the way you like to show up, how you like to talk, all of these different ideas. And you can say, now you can just say, write me a blog post with some parameters based on this topic. And you can reference it relative. You can say this topic. You don't even have to explain what it is. AI is smart enough now where it'll take that transcription and everything it learned, and it'll actually give you an output as a derivative from the first thing. That is something that we never really had available before. And now you can take it a step further and you can say, okay, now act as an expert email marketer. And I want you to act like you interviewed me and you're addressing this information. Summarize, put the key topics in. While you're at it, give me 5 ideas for subjects and 5 pre-header examples, and so on and so forth. You see where this is going. Now you take it a step further. Say, write me a drip email sequence of 3 different parts. Talk about urgency, taking action, clicking on a link. So again, we're not asking it to replace your genius, but what we're doing is we're helping get us out of our head so we can just keep executing.
Well,
And
it
the
keep
possibilities are truly endless in that sense. You can keep going with, now let's get into ad campaigns, let's get into text message prompts, let's get into, whatever it is, Instagram captions based off of these things. And where we just use this as a tool in our tool belt, that's where it unlocks for us.
Well, what fascinates me, I think, is you just said the opportunities are endless. And where most people get stuck, Jim, right, is just getting started. They just don't know where to start. But if you now have a tool to create that email campaign or create that ad campaign or whatever it is that creates the shell, the 80-90% shell, and all you've got to do is finish the last 10 to 20%, that's game changing. But your point cannot be overlooked. You still need to be a copywriter. You can't just be a copy and paster.
That's exactly right. That's a great quote. I want you to roll with that quote. That's a good one.
We say that all the time because when we talk to people about repurposing content and how to transcribe a video to an article, and it's like, guys, you still have to be a copywriter with the article. You can't copy and paste the video word for word.
Correct.
And so that's really important. And I get excited. You even got me excited because I look at like the last workshop I did. We helped an insurance agency get really clear on who its ideal prospect is, one of which is companies that are typically in construction or trucking. And now in my head, if they can go to a place like ChatGPT, OpenAI, and just plug in, hey, help me write an article about the benefits of health insurance, but write it in the way that as if I'm writing to a construction company, like that's game changing.
Well, it is because we don't have to act like we know all of these things anymore. We can thrive off of the fact that a really large language model, this LLM, has this information and it can give it back to us in bite-sized chunks or in mid-form or long-form content the way that we want it. So here's where it gets even more interesting. Let's say that you're thinking about launching an extension to your business. You want to add a service tier, you want to add a coaching platform. It doesn't matter, but you can go to AI and say, I want you to here's a quick example. Let's say you want to launch a coaching program based off of what you're already doing. If you take a coaching program that somebody else is doing in a different industry and you like certain elements about it, you can quote unquote copy and paste that program in and say, learn about this other person's program that's in this industry and extract these parts but ignore these parts. You can kind of copy and paste and put some stuff together to, because this would be no different than you having a vision board or a whiteboard and you're crossing stuff out and you're moving it around. Like, you are collecting information to make sense of it. You're using it as a coach to help you make sense of it. You can start to put all of this together and you can say, create me a coaching program based off of everything that you've learned about this industry. You are an expert in X, you want to serve clients in Y, and also while you're at it, come up with the business plan, talk about the expected costs, tell me about the team that I'm in. Like, get it all out of your head. Just get it out of your head, because the more that you can put those robust prompts together, you're giving it the parameters in which it can give you an output for. And this is the single most powerful piece that you can ask ChatGPT. If you don't know what to tell me back, ask me whatever questions you need so you have confidence and certainty in your response. Or otherwise said, what else do you need? Those 5 words.
What
If you
else
put
do you
everything in
need?
there and you just repeat back, what else do you need? In order to establish that output or get that output back, it's going to hammer you with as many questions as it needs and coach you through the process to get that information so it has the significance in its answer to repeat it back.
Well, you just gave me one of the biggest unlocks because, again, to kind of compare this to the traditional Google search, when we work with our clients to help them uncover their ideal prospect, right? There's 2 ways to do that. There's demographics and psychographics. Demographics is size, location, revenue, all that stuff, right? I can go into Google and I could say, hey, search for construction companies with over 100 employees and doing 10 million or more in revenue. You might actually find a list, but those are demographics. With OpenAI, with ChatGPT and OpenAI and all this stuff, it's like I can now go in and plug in the psychographics. Now, give me construction, write me an article for a construction company that thinks this way, or almost write it in a way that you want to convey that this just blows me away on the prompt. Going back to the prompt, the question or sets of questions you can put into to get the output, the desirable output you're looking for. How about this, Jim? I'm even thinking like advisors struggle to put together a good sales pitch when they have an opportunity. We're talking about marketing, how to open a door, right? But what if the door's open? Now you're in the finalist meeting and you're trying to win the business. Where could AI help an agency or an advisor put together a home run hitting pitch?
In every way possible. And here's why: because we never used to go down these roads because they were too much work. It took too much time, too much thinking, too much team, and we had to move on to the next thing. But I'll give you an explicit example, because like you share what we know, right? And what I do, part of my process of finding people that I can serve, that I can work with when I consult, is I have a free call. You can book a call with me, and when you book that call with me, I just send a follow up that says, "Tell me some more information about your business. Nothing crazy, nothing proprietary. Just like, are you one person or are you 100 people? Where's the tools that you use? Where are some pitfalls? Have you experimented with this?" I just ask a bunch of questions, right? And normally, when you get on a sales call, everybody here understands that process. You listen. You want to know. You want to understand where the challenges are that person has. Well, I easily can take the answers to those questions, throw it into my CRM, and then feel really good about the call when I go on to it. But I can take it a step further, and I do. I take those questions and I feed it into an AI program, and I engineered a prompt to support me in that call. So what I do is when I take those questions, when somebody fills out that call for me, I go to AI. This is all automated. This is the stuff that I teach and I coach and I help get into people's businesses. I say, act as a technology expert who understands AI and what it can do for a small business owner. Learn everything about this business with all of the information that I'm providing and help make sense of it by summarizing an executive recap of this business and outline the challenges, outline the opportunities, and even give me a couple talking points of some things that I may not catch unless you had a deep understanding of this business. Not only do I have those Q&A questions inside my CRM for when I get on a call with somebody, but now I have an executive recap of everything. And I kid you not, it helps me with my calls and it makes these calls shorter and it allows me to really dive in on those key things, not because it's replacing me, because I'm using it and I'm using it correctly and I'm using it in a way that actually adds value. And then, even better, and if anybody wants to book a call with me, you'll see the process. I show you exactly what it is. I say, you guys, it works because we're here and I'm able to understand your business at a higher level. So people aren't just hiring me because I can make sense of it. Anybody can make sense of it. You can hire an automations person off of Upwork for 12 bucks an hour. Where it works for me is now I actually understand directionally what can we do to actually put this in motion in a way that really serves you. And all of this is done automated. And you can find those automations continually in different ways in your business. And I didn't have to write a line of code for any of that because these tools are already there for us. That's where it gets really exciting and that's where it gets really powerful. So if you think about where are those opportunities where I could delight somebody a little bit more, where I could have a stronger sales process, where I could just understand more about our customers, you can find these choice opportunities to implement into your processes and just imagine what that's going to do for your sales cycles, for your customer engagement, and how do we make you indistinguishably better than the other person, than your other competition, and then your other worthy opponents.
Well, it goes back to what we talked about, the land grabs on right now. Those that leverage it early are gonna win the battle.
It's
And
it's it's almost a more of a gold rush even, right?
yeah, oh,
It's not just even
absolutely.
land, there's gold in the hills. So the
Yes.
question is, are you paying attention?
Are you
Are
paying and are you digging?
are or are you selling a pickaxe, right? And
Yes,
that's the
yeah.
question about it is a land grab and it is a gold rush.
Yep.
So are you just looking and experimenting or are you actually adapting? And are you putting these things into practice? Because you will get outpaced from everybody else who opens up a shop
Yep.
and starts selling those pickaxes.
Absolutely. Well, and that being said, I know you didn't intend, but I did put your
Oh yeah, thanks.
email right here. So if somebody wants to reach out and schedule a free call with you, they can do that because I think what you talked about is there's a lot of you're providing a lot of information. People still need the clarity in the organization. And I think that's where if I'm an insurance agency and I'm not paying attention right now to AI, I'm not only missing out on a big opportunity, I'm making a pretty bad mistake. Because I even think, Jim, about one of the challenges in the insurance industry, among the many, is capturing qualified leads. When I think about what we do to help clients, and we talk about the need to create lead generators, the need to create sales campaigns that go off the back of lead generators, email campaigns that, sales campaigns. AI can literally create the entire structure for you,
Or it can be part of the process for
or it
your
could be part of the
MQLs.
process.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong way. There's just there's forward momentum. So the question is, are you doing it all yourself? Or are you using the tools that are available? Like I am a broken record because this is what I truly believe. So getting your message out there is great, but doing more with it is smart. So in a case like this, I could spend the first, again, in the example of my call, I could spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of that call asking questions and listening more and on the fly trying to figure it out and feeling like I might miss something. Or now I can spend the first 2 minutes of it and then the other 18 minutes of it actually delivering value. So where do you want to be on that spectrum?
100%.
Do you want to be doing the old thing and stuck in status quo land? Or do you want to use some of these tools to actually supercharge your output?
Well, and it's one of those things that this is not a time to pride yourself on being a late adopter. But
No,
I will
not at all.
tell you, it's very important for the insurance industry to hear this because it is an industry that tends to ignore the future because it's proud of what it did in the past. And this is a gold rush, as you referenced, that is not going to slow down anytime soon. And
No.
being a late adopter is not a good strategy when it comes to AI and how it can help your business. Because if you don't adopt it, it's actually going to it's going to hurt your business because your competition is going to be leveraging it to beat you with speed. And so, with that being said, Jim, I know we could go on all afternoon about this. Like, what would be if I said, give us one last piece of advice to the insurance professionals out there listening in when it comes to AI? I know, don't overlooking it as something we hopefully we now understand by watching this. What would be that one piece of advice to help them get going?
If there's one thing that you can do about AI, it's just lean into it. You don't have to master it. You don't have to consider yourself an expert. You don't even have to learn how to program. You just have to care enough to be very aware that this is immediately changing the workforce and everything about what we do. So if you're willing to lean into it and just try it, things can change for you. And you can actually start to rise above in different ways because you're going to use your own creative genius to figure out how it's going to apply in your industry. It doesn't matter what the industry, it doesn't matter what the role, it doesn't even matter what the structure or the hierarchy is. But we are going to see a lot of jobs being lost by AI. However, I believe that it's those that use AI are going to help create more. So, do you want to get stuck in that paradigm of being unsure about how you're going to be kind of considered almost no different than the other workforce? Or do you want to step into what you know is now something that you can't not pay attention to?
Yeah, and I normally would say, these episodes, the content contained in these episodes is a nice to have, sometimes a little, maybe even a need to have. This one's urgent, and this is why I wanted to have you on now, because it is something that's just going to grow exponentially. It's only going to speed up, and as I'll say it one more time, you can't be a late adopter to this one because if you're going to take the wait and see approach, it's going to have negative consequences on your business. So, Jim, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today. I know you're a busy man. For the advisors who took the time to watch this one, thank you for taking the time to jump on LinkedIn and check this out. But Jim's link is right here. Give him a call, get some clarity, find out how you can leverage AI to have a positive impact on your business, how you can lean in and get the land grab while it's still there to be grabbed, because this is something that's going to impact every industry. Insurance is not sheltered, but those who take action today are going to be greatly rewarded. So, Jim, one more time, thank you, my man.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
And for everybody else, you know what happens when you get clarity and you mix it with some confidence, you go do amazing things. So take this information and go do those amazing things today. Be well.